Today I'm taking a look at the Action Force Elite Praetorian from Valaverse. DorkLair. This figure was a 2024 convention exclusive, so if you're looking for it, it's not really going to be available. They had a few up on their site, but they sold out quickly. That's where I was able to purchase this. This figure is a kind of a preview variant of the upcoming standard Praetorian. So if you want this figure, you can actually get it. That's in a full painted, it's got like a black deco, and it's going to be full release. You can buy it on like all the retailers and whatnot. This one's sold out, but I kind of consider this sort of a preview look at that upcoming buck body that to me is just awesome. When they previewed the figure, I immediately knew I was going to pick it up at some point, even though I've stopped collecting Valaverse and kind of like stopped, aside from G.I. Joe, I don't really have any more modern warfare type figures very much. So I had a big purge last year, sold off all of my Valaverse stuff. So this is currently the only one I have. And when we get to the comparisons, unfortunately, this is not going to have any Valaverse to stand next to. But I will have some G.I. Joe. I will have some other lines to show with it. But this figure is awesome. It's got great articulation. I do really like the green that they used and like how it kind of like the light passes through it, and you have like silver applications on top of the green, and it just gives it a really cool look. And it's got these energy weapons and a bunch of guns, a bunch of hands, just a lot of cool stuff. Anyway, let's get into this review. Okay, here's a close-up of that head sculpt, very android-like. This character is indeed an android. The Praetorians are designed to be like these advanced foot soldiers in the army of the Crimson Shadow. They kind of have some diabolical features, like they use this particular one, the elite version. These green ones use microwave technology, and they are like toxic to even be near. So they can kind of damage you not just from their weapons, but also just in the vicinity of it. So there's a look at that head sculpt, pretty cool android looking thing there. There's a ton of little sculpted details that are gonna definitely come out when you get some paint on there. They get lost a little bit, I think, in all of the transparency where you can kind of see the inner parts and then also the sculpt work. But once we have a fully painted one in hand, I think all the sculpt work is really going to come out. But I do like the green dome and then the gray mouth kind of look there. It gives it almost like a bit of a alien skull kind of thing going on. And you got like a lot of like green parts that have silver painted on top. So cast in the transparent green, and then like silver parts cast on or painted on top there. Pretty cool looking stuff. This thing definitely gives me Iron Man vibes, like in terms of the silhouette of it. I almost kind of it makes me think of like an Iron Man / Green Lantern mashup of some sort, crossover. But very cool looking stuff here. Just a lot of cool android parts. And like I said, I'm super pumped for the standard version. And then here's a look at some of the legs here. So, we do, even though it's a lot of cast plastic, there's a lot of silver paintwork and stuff as well. We've got holsters here that fit the weapons. And then we have a little clip for the magazines right here, like a little side holster for those. And you've got like almost like gears as joints. So it's going kind of full on with that robotic feel to it. And then you've got those robotic feet right there. A very, very cool design, and just welcome for me in any kind of science fiction, space, Star Wars-y, even almost like Marvel type stuff. And one thing that's actually almost really hard to see is that it does have the Action Force logo on the chest over here, and there's nothing on that side. Here it is all zoomed out so you can get an overall look at the silhouette of the Elite Praetorian, which stands about 6 3/4 inches tall. And like I said, I don't actually have any other Valaverse figures currently, so I don't have any other Action Force to compare it to, but here's a couple G.I. Joes, Major Blood on the left and a Cobra Bat on the right, which I feel like the Praetorians are kind of the Action Force Valaverse take on a Cobra Bat. Pretty much got this figure to go in with my Cosmic Legions, and so here are a couple Cosmics. On the left is the Tusk Heavy Gunner, on the right is Kalian Shun. And to see how it scales with a couple familiar androids, on the left is the Black Series C-3PO, which is much shorter than the Praetorian, and then on the right is the NECA Mirage Utrom, which does scale really well, even if they're stylistically very different. And then here's a couple classic 80s characters in the taller 7-inch scale. On the left is Buzz-Off from the Masterverse line, and on the right is Quicksilver from the Robin Toys Silverhawks line. And here are some fellow independent lines. On the left is the Spiro Toys Tiberius from Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, and on the right is Odious from Unparalleled Universe. And of course, here he is with everyone's favorite NECA Alf. For accessories, I'm going to start off with probably my favorite piece, which is this blade that attaches to his arm. I'm assuming that this is cast in clear blue, and then we have a couple different paint applications on top of that here with some black and silver. You can see some nice sculpt work going on in there. And then this just goes on to the back of his arm right here, and it just pegs in with a tension fit and stays on pretty well. And, you know, it's not going to really go anywhere. It also comes with two slightly different sized energy shields that match the same blue of the blade. So these are kind of like the energy weapons for it. And these little pieces here are like little blaster bolts or whatever. And they actually, there's little peg holes that are kind of hard to see, but you can just pop these in and out and kind of mix and match them to have them in the shield however you want, which is kind of cool. And then he comes with two very high-tech looking rifles right here. I'm guessing these are probably real-world weapons, but I don't know for sure. But just knowing Valaverse, they probably are real-world. This one does have a removable magazine right here, and the figure itself does come with just like a little holster for magazines, and so you can kind of take those out. A little play feature there, so those are removable. You could take these ones out of here, and then you could put them, you know, holding in his hand or whatever kind of play you want to do with those. And the other weapon he does have is a sidearm pistol right here, and you can kind of get a look at that. And again, kind of all black for the weapons on this release, but lots of great sculpture and a lot of great opportunity for painting, especially if you're into customs and whatnot. The figure comes with 4 sets of hands. This is a set of horizontally hinged fists. Then there's a set of vertically hinged gripping hands, a pair of vertically hinged trigger finger hands, and a pair of horizontally hinged weapon cradling hands. And the final accessory is a peg stand that has 6 different pegs, so you can position the figure however you want. This one has a clear blue, and then it's painted silver on top to give it that kind of two-tone look, and stays on there really well. And finally, for articulation, the head is on a ball with a hinge, and then there's also a neck ball at the bottom of the neck. So we're going to get a lot of range out of that head. So looking up, it can go quite a bit upwards, and then down, it can come down all the way to there. So a really good range in that head. And of course, with that neck, it can go side to side, and it can spin all the way around, and just, yeah, good range in the neck. Got some nice butterfly joints on this figure, and those can come across really well, and they can kind of butterfly out nicely. So really good range there. A little loose, but that tends to kind of happen with butterfly joints. They get a little loose over time. And then you've got a hinge at the arm, and it can come up quite a bit. And this piece is like a separate piece on the bicep, so it can kind of like move out of the way, especially if the figure's nice and warm. And so the arms can come up to about there. So pretty decent amount there. And then that can actually hang really tight against the side as well. So there's really, you know, it's a slim figure. There's not really much getting in the way of the range. The swivel can come all the way around. There is a bicep swivel as well, which is kind of tricky to do with the butterfly, but you've got it right there. I will say that my arms pop off pretty easily, but what I did was I heated the peg and did a little stretching and kind of like fussed around with it, and it's pretty stable now. As you can see, there is a double jointed elbow, and it's got quite a good range over there. And then on the hand, you have a twist and a hinge, and some hands are horizontally hinged like this one, and some are vertically hinged the other direction. Diaphragm cut gives you a really good range of motion here, and then you've got a decent range of motion at the waist. The forward waist motion isn't crazy, but when you add together both pieces, you got a decent amount of crunch forward. Kind of has a lot backwards, and then you can go side to side as well. So just really great range. And it moves well, like right out of the box. The articulation and the movement and everything felt really good. You've got ball jointed drop down hips that kind of tricky to see, but if you look in there, you can see the ball joint. And I mean, it just adds an incredible amount of range. So if you're an articulation junkie, I think this figure is going to be right up your alley. There is a twist at the upper thigh. Double jointed knee has great range. And then you've got an ankle that twists at the top. And then you have a hinge at that ankle. And then you also have a rocker, an angled rocker there. Excellent articulation on this figure. And so overall, this is a fantastic figure. If you love articulation, if you love sci-fi, if you love clear plastic, this is definitely a great option. And I think it's a good indication of how great the regular Praetorian is going to be when that releases. Anyway, thanks for watching my video, and until next time, may the Force be with you.